Start her up.
We're on. What's going on, guys? We
Episode
are back.
7. We were back after a mini hiatus.
yeah. We were gone for a bit. We were both really busy doing some stuff that we're just really excited about, which is always a good thing.
We're making advancements. You know, I mean, you went to Miami Film Festival.
Yeah.
I'm opening a pizza shop soon,
yes, dude.
We're
more or less what's like the time
June
frame?
probably end of June. Max, I want to say early July, but like I'm hoping for mid-June.
You gotta let me know, man.
Yeah, dude.
I'll be there.
I'm gonna let everybody know. There's gonna be a big party, grand opening. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, I was able to.
We're doing that, and then you were at Miami Film Week.
Yeah.
So we were busy just advancing.
Yes, man. It's great. I'm glad. I was thinking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention it to you off air, which is good. But I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, I was glad that there was a break.
Yeah.
Because I was excited to just kind of come back.
Yeah.
And talk about what we've done.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
I like the idea of like we were gone because we were just so busy doing things. Yeah. You know, so we can come back and talk about that stuff. Like for the Miami Film Festival, right? You know, I was interning for it, so I worked it while attending it for class. So I was watching movies and working the event, watching movies, working the event. You know, going to the after parties and.
Right.
I found out after the first day that little badge that you have for working there, you go into all the after parties. So I was going to all the after parties, meeting people. It was great. And then just throughout all that, just learning all these different experiences and then, you know, having a new short film out. And so it's cool to be
Go check
back.
out the short film, by the way.
Yeah, Unforgiven. It's
it's on the Cruisin' channel.
Yes, on the Cruisin'.
And you find it on his Instagram. So
yeah, it'll be everywhere. But it was just a really rewarding thing to like come back and be like, this is what happened. Check this out, you know. And
you tell me you have a cool story. He hasn't told me the story yet.
Yes, I haven't told you the story. So throughout the festival, you know, going to the after parties and stuff like that, there was actually a couple things that happened that relate very heavily on just our pursuit in life, right? And one of the first things was I was at the after party, you know, drinking, having a good time. And there was a filmmaker there. He was like dancing, having a good time. Yeah. This guy was wearing like shorts and a jacket. He was just chilling, like he was. And I bump into him by accident. I'm like, "Oh, hey, sorry, man, whatever." And I saw his badge, and they say if a red badge means filmmaker industry, whatever. And part of my homework was just for the class, like go out and talk to people, like filmmakers, and learn or whatever. So I go up to this guy. His name was Ira, and he had a film called Out of the Muck, a great film. And I bump into him. I was like, "Oh, hey, man, whatever." So we start talking. We're laughing. I'm like, "So what do you do? Like, what's..." He's like, "Oh, I got this new film out, whatever." And so my first question was like, "So what's, like, your advice for, like, a young guy like me? You know, like, this is what I want to do." And he literally just flat out says, like, "Man, just go and do it." Yeah. He's like, "I was homeless when I started." He's 60 now. He was homeless till he was, like, 40.
Whoa.
And he was like, "I was 40, I was homeless." He's like, "I had nothing." And he just decided to make a documentary, and I believe it's called The Throwaways. And it was a documentary about his life in that point in time. And he met... I
imagine he was vlogging before people were actually vlogging.
But
in a documentary form.
Right, yeah. Like, so that he was in that state.
Right.
And like 40-something years old or whatever. And then he met Baldwin, who runs this youth media, Youth FX in New York, doing films and stuff. And they met, they connected, and he really liked that idea of like, let's, you know. Yeah. And they just started, because he had friends when he was homeless and stuff, but not a lot of them were pulling through or like nobody. So it was just, and it ended up becoming about him. And they just started doing this thing. Yeah. And that was the first film. And he was like, "Man, I was homeless, like nothing." And he's like, "I just decided to just go and do it." And then, you know, now he's doing a second film. It's on the festivals. You know, he's enjoying himself. Like he's in film festivals and all that stuff. And he met Baldwin, who runs the youth media organization in New York. And then they established a relationship. And now they're, you know, and then the second film, Out of the Muck, is it's about him going back home. Yeah. here in Florida and reconnecting with his family that he hadn't seen in probably like 20 years or so. Wow. In Lake Pahokee, which is kind of like Okeechobee. It's area, like, that area. It's about that and like their family living there. Way. So it was him reconnecting with his family for the first time in over 20 years. Wow. And they thought, let's document that. Yeah. And that's what this film is about. And I saw the film and I saw his family and just seeing, and I was like, dude, that's so crazy. This is a guy, necessarily no resources, you know. He decided to
found a way to make it happen.
Make that switch, make it happen. Where I mean, he was like at the extremist of insane. Like he was homeless. Yeah. You know? And now he's at the after party, staying at a nice hotel and getting his film out there, and his goal is to win an Emmy and Oscar, and he said it's gonna happen. And I told him I believe you. Yeah. And he was adamant about it. He was like, yeah, no, it's gonna happen. I was like,
it's already done.
And that at that point, at 40 to 60, he's 60 now, and I was like, damn, man, like
young energy sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, dude, dancing, drinking. We were drinking together, talking, and just such a young energy. Great, you know, and also just remembering who he is too, you know, and going back to rediscover his relationship with his family and all these different things. And that was crazy to me. That was crazy. You know, we're here in our 20s, like, oh my God, is time running out or this or stressing so much. Yeah. And then I see that and it's like, dude, so at time. That age and just getting a film out in a festival, just the idea of him having a film out at the Tower Theater, like at a big theater, and having an audience in the theater and doing a Q&A. That alone, that must be such a satisfying experience.
Especially when you've gone from having nothing to that.
Yeah, and getting your film, you know, people praising your film and doing Q&As. And that's such a cool thing to see. Is very inspiring. That was my first night at the festival. I was like, this is what I'm going to write about for my homework, because...
Starting on such a high note.
Yeah, and then talking to Baldwin, who's the co-director and who runs the Youth FX group, and we were talking about that. He's like, yeah, like sometimes it doesn't need to be that big budget thing. Like the small, simple stories are the most important, you know, like those moments in between families or in the small towns that you would usually hear a lot of bad news on television, going in there and showing what it's like in there, the sense of community. Yeah. It was just really inspiring how just to go out there and tell that story, you know? And that was just one example, man. I mean, I saw another film and I got to meet the filmmaker it was a documentary on the Bay of Pigs invasion for, like, you know, in Cuba and stuff like that. My family is mostly Cuban, so like I
resonated with that one,
a lot. I actually got really emotional in that screening. Yeah, I didn't think so. You know, what I mean? I was partying, having a good time, and I went. And I was like, I want to see this. This is cool. This is, you know, like history and my family background and stuff like that. And I went. It was a great documentary. Right. And with the survivors of the Bay of Pigs and all that stuff, the survivors were actually there in the movie, like in the screening. Yeah. So they got up and they went on stage, Q&A. Everybody was clapping. People were crying. Wow. People were crying because it really hit home for them. Yeah. And listening to this director talk, and he was like, yeah, I just wanted to tell this story. And he explained how there's certain artworks in the movie, like he did for like the battles and stuff like that to kind of demonstrate visually what it was like. He made it look like historical, like footage, but he used like toys and like drawings and stuff and just made it look like if it was real and like with the black and white and the grainy footage. And people ask like, oh, so like how did you he's like, oh, just YouTube. He's like, I went on YouTube and I learned
how to do it.
And it took a lot of time. And I did it and I applied it. And I was like, these people are just like me, and it doesn't matter what age, but like this guy went on YouTube, learned what he needed to learn, made it happen, and he was on the biggest theater possible at the, you know, in Tower Theater, packed. I mean, full house. Yeah, people clapping, people crying, and it was a goal very
you would want. That's the type of reaction you want when you make a movie.
And it was a very just intimate, like there was a connection in the theater because everybody understood what the film meant.
Yeah.
And it was such a beautiful thing to be a part of and see.
Yeah.
That I got emotional.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
I caught myself being emotional because I obviously thought of my grandparents, them going through that in Cuba, leaving and going through all that stuff.
100%.
And it got me emotional. I was like, what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, and just seeing that experience, but also these filmmakers that they're just they're up and coming too, and they're figuring it out on their own, going on YouTube or just decided to film a documentary about what's around you, being homeless, and like seeing these examples, and that was just so very inspiring, honestly. And it was just that throughout the festival, man, and of course meeting different people, actors, but it was just very interesting. Doesn't matter what level you're in, you know, or like what age you are. There's so many
different ways to slice the cake that you want.
Yeah,
it's like it's fascinating to see when that happens and to see other people create success out of things that you normally wouldn't even think of, you know?
Yeah.
Like, for example, just documenting his being homeless and then going back to see his family. Like, those are interesting things to cover.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people are going to, there's an audience for it, and then how they made it and the success that it reaches, it did what it needed to do as an artwork. You know, it touched people the right way and it moved people, and that just goes to show you, like, to stick with your process.
Yeah.
Like, your process started at a different point. Somebody started down here. You may have gotten, like, you know, maybe you didn't start from the bottom. You might have started from the middle.
Yeah.
You know, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how late in the game you start, you know, and that's really what I learned.
It's never too late or too early to do what you really want to do.
Yeah, because
that's a message to everybody.
Yeah, man. That was the biggest thing that stuck out with me. I was like, wow, like, and you know, he had a great attitude about it and stuff, and
that's powerful.
Yeah, man. And seeing them in the Q&As, and it was just so interesting, and also it's just giving stories and a voice to people that necessarily, you know, there's not a lot of movies made about these kind of things, you know what I mean?
Or at least even like an accurate description of it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And it was very, very interesting to see, man. And just that it was very eye-opening for me, just being a part of that, being, you know, that's what I want to do, and just going through that, you know. There's so many things that happened that just kept course correcting me or just reassuring
making sure
me.
You kept doing what you were doing.
Yeah. And the last example that I'll give, just because it was very weird, on again how, you know, in one of our episodes we talked about how, like, life sends you signals or messages. I had another one of those, and it was I think it was that same weekend. It was like a Sunday night after party.
Right.
And right now at the time I was still not sure what was going to happen, but I'm currently in transition of transferring positions at my job, right? So I'm I'm going to go into like more of like a bartending space. Yeah. Just because tips are better, more money to be made while I'm doing school and stuff. Obviously it was a big leap for me, because you're going from like one job that's more of like a steady pay, you know, where you're getting a week, to a tip job where yes, it can go really high, it can also go low. Like I don't know, I never done it before. So I was like kind of nervous about it, but I was making the jump anyway. So I was in the process of that, and I wasn't sure if it was going to happen yet. I reached out, I did an interview. So that after party, I'm talking to some people, whatever, you know, having a beer, and I step on this kid's shoe by accident. I'm like, oh, hey, sorry, man. He said, oh, no, dude, you're good. But he was like super funny about it. But we instantly like locked for a second, and I was like, oh, so like, you know, what do you do? And we just started talking. Actually, he asked me, because he was like, oh, no, dude, you're good. So, like, what are you here for? And I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm interning, and I'm a student here. I'm a filmmaker, you know. He's like, oh, dude. He's like, that's perfect. I'm an actor. I want to act or whatever. So I started talking to him, his girlfriend, and her friend. And he's, you know, how they like acting and this is, and this. And I was like, oh, I like to write and direct. He's like, you see, you stepped on my shoe for the right reason, whatever. But then the conversation kept evolving. And I was like, I gave him my card. I'm like, here's my card. You know, let's keep in touch. I love working with different actors and all this stuff.
He was local. He's from down here.
So this is where it gets interesting. and we start talking, and then I'm explaining to his girlfriend. I was like, yeah, this is what I do, and I like to do this on the side because I work at the Hard Rock, whatever. And she's like, wait, you work at the Hard Rock? He's like, he works at the Hard Rock. And I'm like, huh? Mind you, yeah. So then I'm like, what? I'm like, dude. So like, you work at the Hard Rock? I was like, he's like, yeah. I was like, me too. He's like, what do you do? I do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a server at the beach club. And I'm like, dude, that's where I'm trying to transfer right now. Literally, that's where I'm trying to go. And we started talking about that. I was like, and he's like, oh yeah. Like I'm a server. He's like, dude, it's good pay, whatever, because that's the goal, right? I was trying to do like server or something along those lines. I'm starting as a bar back because I have no experience.
Right.
And I was like, oh, dude. And he's like, oh, dude, you'll be good. You're like, good. Trust me. I work this amount of days. I get paid well, whatever. And then I hear the bar back from the bar that we were in be like, oh, who's trying to be a bar back? So he jumps in the conversation.
Wow.
And he's like, oh, dude, do it. He's like, I've been a bar back for years. And he's like, I make killer money. Yeah. I've worked at all these different clubs. I've worked at different things being a bar back. Like, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
And he kept telling me, and then we started talking about people he's met and stuff like that, like celebrities, whatever. But he's like, oh, dude, like, do it. Like, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did this one thing of stepping on this kid's shoe
turn into that?
Give me all this reassurance?
Yeah, wow.
Not only just like, not even, and then that's the interesting thing, not just in like my career, right?
Yep.
Not just about filmmaking. Yep. Even though, yes, he wants to act and we're going to work
just
together.
What your next step was.
And just that little big reassurance on that next step just in my life and job-wise.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was interested in getting into serving, but I needed to start off as either a bar back or something like that. But then I was like, I didn't know that I can learn being a bar back and even do bartending as well. Yeah. If that was if it comes up.
There were a lot of uncertainties that you got reassured with.
And he was like, dude, bar back, do it. Yeah. Like, the money's great, the tips and all this stuff. And then the kid who's a server, which is what I wanted to do, he's like, dude, I work 3 days a week, longer shifts, but the pay is good. Yeah. He's like, I'm here now. And like, and then we were talking about the acting. And I was like, and it was, I told this to my manager, my assistant manager at my job, and she got goosebumps because she knew where I was at, like my headspace. And I don't know, that was just so crazy. Just life throwing signals. Because for the bar back in that place to be like, who wants to do that? And like started talking. And that was my week in a shell of just like constant moments like that. And moments like that where I was and now I am transferring and it's happening. But like, it's just, life is very crazy in that sense, man. You just have to say it all the time. You just have to be awake enough to pay attention to the signs. Yeah. Right. Like in that moment for you to reciprocate that, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like you could have just been like, hey, what are you here for? And like, oh, I'm, right. Just like, don't make it just completely. I want it to be like, that person. You would have never opened yourself up to that experience or that voice or that that reassurance that was coming, Yeah. Yeah, man. It's and I think like crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just crazy. And I think over the past, few weeks that we've been gone, a lot of things just mentally that I've thought of. It's like we put so much stress on like this youth aspect of like the age, but it's attached to a number. Right. Right. But then you constantly meet these people who maybe 50, maybe 60, maybe 35, maybe 45. These ages we think that are so much higher than they really are, but then they act so young. And then they feel young. If you ask them like, hey, like, how do you feel? It's like, yeah, I still feel like I'm, sometimes it hurts when I wake up or like, things hurt when I wake up, but like I feel like I'm still 20 something. That like reassures you like, hey, like age is nothing but an actual number in this aspect. And like, it's more your energy. Yeah. Because how many people that are our age that are just already 60 years old? Mentally, physically, emotionally. Yeah. And like, I think the common denominator of people that, even if you just want to consider yourself a successful person, not from society standards, not from like a money aspect, not from like a fame aspect, but like as if you were to meet somebody out and about and you'd actually enjoy the interaction or you feel really good, is like that person's a very energetic person. Yeah. And I believe we've talked about this before on the podcast, like to not be low energy. You being that energetic person, open yourself up to that interaction.
right? Like you just, been shoulders down like, hey, no, but it's okay, buddy. I'm just, you left the, but you were open, and the guy was also open. He also was an energetic, like a high energy person. And I could be completely wrong, but like just from what you were telling me, like you in the first person you told me, the homeless guy, dancing, enjoying himself at after party, 60 years old, not acting 60,
not at all.
Just this is all I'm gauging from what you're telling me. You know what I mean?
He was drinking with us, and he's like, "Oh man, you guys are so cool!" Like, just super cool and nice. And with his name was Amir. Yeah. And we were talking about the same thing. He's like, "Dude, I told him this in our conversation. I believe in that, like." That energy frequency. Yeah. And I told him I believe that. And like the second we started talking, I already knew, like, because we were talking, we were already like, we had a connection. Like if we were like, and I told him about us and like how we started this podcast, how we didn't even know each other before. Yeah, we did. And I told him it was the same exact thing. Like we just met one time in person for a podcast, and then but there was just, you can feel it. You can feel like there's a draw. Yeah.
Like I don't know if we've shared it on here before, but it was like a poster that I'd won in a giveaway. Yeah. And like that just that interaction, just it went from, hey, like the poster came crumbled, like the free poster came crumbled, to like, hey, we're gonna send you a free. I'm like, bro, don't worry about it. Like I mess with you guys just off of like the content you guys are putting out, and like when can I come on? And then I came on. First one, obviously we got to know each other and we talked about I forgot what movie it was. I think Irishman. And we talked about the movie, and then that was it. But then the next time we came, we like. Podcast ended, we had a longer conversation. Yeah. And then the next time I came, it was an even longer conversation. Yeah. And then we constantly DM each other and talk about like basically what we're talking about now, like keep on keeping on, like, hey, you're doing this thing, like, yo, just keep going for it. Yeah. Or like, life and how to be best versions of ourselves, like peak versions of ourselves, not just in terms of our goals, but all around. Like you want your health to be at an optimum so you can maximize your energy for longer periods of time. Like there's people that have really low, like, health in a way. Like, they eat bad stuff, they don't work out, but their energy's still high. Imagine now if you incorporate all of the good things, how much more, your energy can be, and, like, how much you feel tired a lot, like, less. And so, like, I feel like as people, we got to do, and especially since we're young, maximize, one, putting ourselves in high energy moments, or just being high energy all the time. But then also taking care of all these other things, like making sure we're working out, making sure we're eating right, making sure we're doing all of these things that enhance our life and just create that longevity.
It does, man.
You look at some of the best people in the world, like take LeBron, for example. 37 years old, dominating the game still, right? Longevity. He's been playing since he was 18, almost 20 years. I don't know if it's year 19 or year 20. Like that longevity. Tom Brady coming back, 44. Longevity. He's a great, like, had he retired at like 36, he probably still would have been one of the best to play. But like he solidified his legacy by being able to do it longer, better.
It's the same pattern.
It's the same thing.
The same pattern. Like,
and you want to, like, whenever what you're doing now, it seems like you're ascending, but when it comes to that moment when you make it and you look back, these are all the years that are going to add into your longevity. Right. It's not going to be from the moment you made it. It's going to be from the moment that you first put out your podcast, first put out the first short film, or even really just sat down to write that first short film, or, whatever it was. That's where that longevity starts from. It's just it's not really recognized by anybody else because it's not up until that moment. Like that homeless person's moment didn't start at 40, when he made the movie or whatever the case may be. It started when he first even, like, all of those experiences led to him making that movie, first of all. So, like, had he not gone through that, he would have never had that moment, and then had that moment that led to him now being 60 at a film festival, sold out event, talking to people, having the Q&A, having that impact.
Life is so crazy in that sense, man. Like the avenues and the doors. It's because life is
working for you.
And it's funny because, and if we really want to go down that, like that rabbit hole of like, if I didn't do this, then this wouldn't happen type of thing. Like, and I've talked about this on here before. That position I didn't get at work. Yeah. If I had got that position,
who knows? I probably wouldn't be at the film festival.
No, at all. Because I would be full-time commitment. Yeah. And I wouldn't have made the switch because I wasn't even supposed to take that film festival class. Yeah. I was taking another class. I was going to sign up for another class. Yeah. But then I saw that one on an email, and I was like, that looks like a cool class. I want to take that.
100%.
And so I dropped one, and I swapped it with that one or whatever. But if where I was originally going before, if that just had happened, I wouldn't have switched the class, because I would have been like, 100%. Oh shit, I can't, because my schedule, I won't be able to get those days off like that, and to see, like we were saying, just this weird course correction, and then if it wasn't for that not happening, because sometimes it's the things that don't happen, right? It's not always the things that do happen, or that we make happen. Things that don't happen for us that we think
are bad,
we wanted, and then when you see, for me, it's months later looking back, I'm like, wow, like that makes so much sense.
100%.
And here I am talking about the festival and this and all these really like interesting little profound experiences within that just added value.
Dude,
and it just literally added so much value for me moving forward. And the high energy thing is so true, because me and Amir, when we talked for a second, it was very quick, but we were talking for a bit. Instant connection. Yeah. Instant, like, oh, we understand each other because he believes in the same like mindsets too. I was like, oh, we get it. Yeah. And just instant, boom, great connection, great stuff. Yeah. And like with just different people, you can meet someone, and this happened to me a lot in the festival. You can meet someone on the spot, and you talk to them, and I made friends there. But you feel like you've known them for.
The crazy thing is, like, and it may have happened at this film festival, it may happen at the next one, but it's like you could meet one person, have that instant connection. That person can set you up with everything that you want to do, but you have to be open enough in the moment to be willing to accept whatever may be coming. Like, that person could be the one criticizing at that moment. Maybe you put out a film, they're criticizing it. If you don't take that criticism well, you lose that relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just giving examples, but like, you have to have that high energy. And that's not to say like if you're a low energy person, like you're out of luck.
Right.
It's to say like, train yourself to be high energy for those moments when you need it.
Yeah, like put yourself out there.
Because like, even I can say for the both of us, I'm sure we're not, like, I know I can speak for myself. I'm not high energy all the time.
Oh yeah, no, me neither.
No. I can't, like, I'm not always screaming at a microphone, like, having a conversation or even with friends. It may seem that way when I'm with my friends, but like, it's because, and this is just me, having the self-awareness. This is because I've worked on doing that. I wasn't always high energy in every situation where, like, let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. You just open yourself up to so much more possibility when you just let it. You just be open to it. Because when you're in a low energy, somebody will see that you're in a low energy, and they might not even offer something like, "Hey, let's do this." They see you're in, you're going through something. They're like, "All right, let's you let him figure his things out."
And the hard part too is like, if you're around someone else that's also low energy, then there's nothing to like kind of like radiate that, or like lift that up, that's right? True. That's the hard part. Like,
and a lot of times it's not even who's around you; it's what you consume.
That too. You're watching bad news all day.
You watch bad news all day. Yeah. You watch, or even, it doesn't have to be bad news. Just watching news in general.
Yeah.
The news's job is one thing: is to scare you. It's not necessarily to inform you. It's what can get the most clicks to drive attention, because that's how they get paid. That's not necessarily a bad thing. They're just doing their job, but like, that they want to draw the most attention, not necessarily inform you. It's like what can scare you the most, right?
That's what I liked about John Krasinski when he did that during the pandemic.
Yeah, when he did his good news thing.
Good news only or something like that. Yeah. Literally just good news. Because there is good news out there.
There is. It's just never covered because it doesn't sell.
Imagine if there was a station for that, right? Yeah. Where you put it on in the morning.
Dude, I think they tried it. They tried a newspaper that was straight good news only, and it failed.
Of course.
It's not gonna get the
There's a saying about that, right? Like, about like fear or something like something. It's
a misery loves company.
Yeah, it's easier to attract.
Yeah,
like, there's something.
Because, bro, when you live in that mind frame,
that
it's
fight or
easier
flight.
to associate with that mind frame when it comes to just promoting fear or being in fear, right?
Yeah,
it becomes easier, which is why it's so important to, like, if you're consuming something that you're not necessarily happy with, or, a lot of times people get in these low states of mind, like depression and all of these because of the things they constantly are consuming and showing themselves. Like imagine if all you did, you're a person that's, let's say, 30 pounds overweight, and all you're looking at are these influencers that have bought the body, that have faked the aesthetic, and you look at them and you're like, it can never be me. Or like you see like, that influencer with the 6-pack abs just eating burgers or eating crap food, necessarily didn't work for their physique or their attention or their followers. You're like, I'll never get to that point because when I do that, I look like this, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of these influencers, they're not really influencing you to do anything good.
Right.
They're like, look at me, I'm living this outlandish life. And like in reality, it's either rented, bought, or, faked, or, whatever the case may be. It looks very appealing, but then you go into like what their actual mindset's like, and it's not there.
It's very true.
Which is why you got to follow, like, when you are on Instagram and you spend a lot of time on Instagram, or you are watching TV, or you're consuming, like, it's very important you consume things that don't drown you in negativity. Because follow inspiring creators. Follow a lot of things, like with what changed my perspective in like the youthfulness or like feeling like I'm getting older is following people that are a lot older doing a lot of young stuff. Like when I went to Colorado, I was there with my cousin, and he was telling me the story of these doctors that he has in his office that are 60, 65, 70, like older age, like amassed a big net worth, and they do heli skiing, which is you jump off of a helicopter and you're skiing. I'm like 60, 65 years old. Like, these people are young. You know what I mean? Like, maybe their chronological age is 65, but their biological or biochemical age is probably a lot younger.
That's insane.
Because they've kept themselves young, or they keep wanting to do young stuff so they don't.
Yeah, just living. Yeah.
Or you look at like people like I don't know how to say his name, but his name's like Jesse Itzler, something like that.
Okay.
And he's married to Sarah Blakely, who's the founder of, I want to say it's Spanx. I could be wrong. Her husband and her, they're a lot older, obviously, but they do a lot of young stuff, and they do a lot of things that are very different to the norm. Like a lot of times why people feel like they're getting older is because they have bad examples of what that age looks like. Like when you think of 35, you might have a bad example of what 35 looks like.
Right. Yeah.
But then you can also compare that 35 to a Cristiano Ronaldo, who's like 36, 37. Like tip-top shape, body of like a 23, 24-year-old. So you can open up your perspective of what is possible at that age. Now, yes, he's predisposed to probably certain genetics, maybe.
Right.
Who knows? But there's also a ritual that he follows that allows him to look that young, feel that young, and be that young in a sport that demands.
It's all about the habits. What are your habits? There's a quote. I can't remember it now. I always hear it, but like your habits create basically. What's the quote? I know that it's a good quote, and I can't remember it right now. But it's like, for the results that you want, right? Or like the person you want to be. Yeah. It's not about like, oh, how do I get there? It's literally starting now with the habits you create for yourself. Yeah. And when you keep doing those habits over and over and over again, you just naturally become what you want. Yes. Whatever it is, right? Yeah. And it's so true. Like, I tell myself that all the time. Like, okay, if you want your life or like what you are to be in this space, in this realm, you have to be consistent in these things and make it a daily habit. Yeah. But when we don't make it a daily habit, it'll just only be that. It'll only be, that dream or goal that you want, but you'll never attain it if you don't start with the habits now.
It's very true, man.
It's crazy.
That's very true.
And when, I don't know, it's interesting, man. It's really interesting.
But it's cool, like, you got put in that environment, though, because you got to see somebody who was, like, you have these doubts. Like, we discussed these doubts openly on this show. It was like, am I getting too old? Am I getting too late? And then you see this guy at 60 enjoying himself at a film festival. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it really opens your perspective to what life could look like for you if you just kept going down what you're already doing. And it would happen a lot younger because, like, you've already built a foundation for yourself. Right. So I feel like we get so bogged down into, like, things not happening by a certain age, but, like, when you look at some of these people who are a lot older and they're living lives very youthfully,
and jumping off helicopter skiing
and stuff like, you really get a perspective of, like, and I hate doing this, but like I'm gonna quote Gary Vee. He says like he's like 44, 45 now. He's like, I've never felt younger. And now just basing off of what he's saying, he could be lying, could be telling the truth, who knows? But like just based off of what he's saying, if he's saying he's never felt younger, imagine like how like old we feel right now. Like imagine if you turn 44, 45, you feel like you're
it's true.
A senior citizen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like if you don't change that association you have with youthfulness and oldness, like for me, I'll tell you personally, like I hate when somebody's like, "Oh, you're old."
Yeah.
And that's not like, you know, like that could be like my sister tells me, I'm like, "Yo, don't say that." Like, no, you know, just not for, you know, like, yeah, like to her that seems 26, she's 20, it seems like, "Oh my God, you're so old."
Yeah.
But like, and when I was that age, it felt the same way, you know? But if you don't change that, imagine what 36 feels like. Imagine what 46 feels like. And now you're despising yourself.
Yeah.
At these ages just because of like this predisposed.
Yeah, you're just like reinforcing that over and over and over.
But like then you can look at people who are 46. Tom Brady's 44, playing professional sports.
Winning Super Bowls.
Coming close to winning a Super Bowl, having record career seasons. These are all examples of what is possible if you dedicate your life to a better discipline.
Starting with those daily habits, like just what you do now.
Maybe it's working out. Maybe initially it's only working out for 30 minutes because your body can't tolerate more, and it's too much of an ask. You know, make the ask easy. Don't make the ask like I'm gonna work out 7 times a week. Make it 4 times a week. Do it for 30 minutes every day. And you know, just change it up. Don't put this like I'm gonna work out 2 times a day for 7 days a week or 5 days. I'm gonna get this. Because by day 3, 4, 5, or maybe even day 12, you're going to be like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. You're going to tax yourself.
It's not sustainable because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
So start changing the discipline now, slowly. It'll become more.
There's a book, and he was on...
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Bayou?
Yeah, Bill
You.
The 5-minute rule,
yeah,
right? Something like that.
Start with 5 minutes. And like, okay, work out for 5 minutes every day. And this guy, I forgot his name. I gotta look it up, but I have the book saved on my cart. It's another book I want to read, but it's the 5-minute rule. Like for anything, right? It's any habit you want to start. Yeah. Start it for 5 minutes. Like you want to work out every day? Okay, just 5 minutes. And usually the people's reaction is like, what? Like that's stupid. Like just do it. And then 5 minutes every day. Boom, 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 boom. Whether it's reading or this or that. But then when you start knocking that down, then you're like, oh, I can do a little bit more. And then next thing you know, you're slowly pacing. Because then you realize you're making that time because there's no excuse. Yeah. Like, it's 5 minutes. Like, 5 minutes is nothing. And, dude, we live in such a time now where there's so many advancements happening in everything that our age is not the same mid-20s that was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Yeah. It's completely different. You're going to live, like, I forgot what neuroscientist or what doctor it was. And he's a well-renowned doctor. I remember reading about him. And he said, like, the first person to be born to live 1,500 years is already born. Now, that's crazy to think about and hear, like, in talk about, even kind of process. He may be right, he may be wrong. But the quality of like our cells in our body is how the quality of what our life is going to be like. If our cells remain healthier for a longer period of time and they stay alive for a longer period of time, you're going to live for a longer period of time. Given that you don't have forced trauma, something doesn't happen that cuts your life short, you're going to live a very long life. And with the advancements happening that are making our cells live longer, live healthier, live younger, our 25 or like a 35-year-old today is living like what we're living like right now also. True. Yeah. The same, like if they wanted to. They didn't give up on, like their health and their mental wellness. Very different from how it used to be.
It's very different from how it used to be. So you looking at like what 45 will look like for us will be very different than the 45 we're looking at right now. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you got to like find proper examples of what you want. And I know that we kind of went into like age right now, but like I feel like it's very important for people our age that like kind of feel like mid-20s to like,
yeah, it all
like 20s is like the only time period to exist.
No, it all connects, man. It all makes sense because with all this chase and like pursuit that we're all in, like if we don't even feel young in the you know what I mean? And it's all about your presence 100%. Now. Like, oh, when I get this, I will feel so this. Good. Yeah. I would, oh my God, I'll do that. I'll go over here. I'll travel there. But it's like, that's, you know, and then you never know what age you're going to hit that. And it's all about how you need to create those habits now. Yeah. Start living that way now. Yeah. Like if you do have it or if you 100%. Do feel young, we are young now, but always.
It's going back to the energy thing you're talking about. Like you believe in the energy. Like it's very well documented. A lot of successful people back this. Like you got to put yourself in the position that you want to be in. How would you move if you already have the things that you have?
Right.
If you already did the things you wanted to achieve? Put it out there. Write it down. But write it down from a position of like it already exists in your life. Let's say, for example, just throwing it out there, you want a Ferrari. I'm a Ferrari owner. I go to Ferrari drives or, you know, car rallies or, you know, I'm part of the, you know, this, and write it from a place of like nonchalant, like it already exists, like as if a lamp would exist.
Right.
You know, like I own that light or I own that MacBook. Like you already do. So, you know, you don't even think twice about it. Like you have to put yourself in that of already having it.
Yeah. That manifestation.
And then that frequency will align with that actual reality and it'll make it happen.
It's crazy.
Like you being put in a position where you're constantly being reminded, hey, continue doing what you want to do. That's not by chance. That's you putting yourself in the right environment, that right frequency of allowing those people to come into your life. You know what I mean? Like manifesting it almost, like attracting them into you and making those situations a reality for you.
It's crazy. That's true.
You know?
It's very true.
You just got to put yourself in that mind frame of, Joe Rogan put it best. Imagine a documentary crew was documenting your trip to success. What would you do? Would you be waking up at 12 p.m. every single day? You know?
Yeah.
Would you be, you know, taking that fast food run every single day? Would you be whatever? Imagine the camera's on you, documenting your journey to success. What does that look like?
So
what are the actions you're doing on a day-to-day basis to make it happen? Are you waking up in the morning to go work out and then starting your day off, or having a morning routine, or, you know, doing meditation, doing some sort of like centeredness, you know?
It's so important, man.
Mind is so like, in today's world where it's constantly being stimulated by so many things, for you to find that focus and that being centeredness.
So important.
Very important.
It's so important. For me, like if I go running or something like that when I come back from that,
that's your feeling.
I just refreshed.
Bro, but even in those situations, you're automatically changing your physiology, which is the number one way to change your mood.
Yeah.
So if you're in a down place, you're in a bad place, go move your body. Go put on the song that makes you want to dance. Go run. You know? Like, that's therapeutic for you.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Like,
you know?
I go to the gym, and going to the gym, I'll come back like, whoo, like that you just released all that. But there's something about going running, and I think it's because of the sun. They say like if you should get at least 30 minutes of sun every day.
Don't get sun the way that they should, you know?
That plays a huge factor in just your body, how you feel, how you sleep.
I think they've done studies of people who live in like rainy climates where it's always raining, like people places in like London, like Seattle, and people that live in tropical. The vibe is just different.
It's crazy.
Even the people that live there, they come here and then they experience like a South Florida lifestyle. They're like, wow, like, and it's not because it's Miami or it's South Florida. It's because the weather and the environment has a lot to do with it.
That's why they say like go out, even if it's just for a walk, 30 minutes outside, get that sun, and your mood would drastically change. I used to do that a lot during the pandemic when we were in quarantine and stuff.
You're forced to like.
I was running all the time and going out in the sun. I would be out there for like 2 hours sometimes, just running, doing miles.
Yeah.
But getting that sun and getting that, man, it was between, I would do that, get home and read for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I was reading a lot more than I am now. Yeah. But again, because doing a lot more things now. You know, life when life came back around, I was like, shit. Because I that was running, getting home, after I showered, sit on my bed.
Yeah.
I would play some like meditation music, like those sound bowls.
Yep.
Listen to that, like burning incense in my room, and read for like 20, 30 minutes.
Dude,
and
like
I will.
Monk.
Just from a
you were
lot
just
of
methodical.
study.
It was very ritualistic.
And,
You know what I mean? Like,
and it was so amazing what it would do, just not only physically but just mentally. And the books that I was reading too, right? Like I would go running, shower, come back, burn incense, put the sound bowls on, and I was reading the 7 Laws of Spiritual Success. And I read that book twice in a row. That's how much time I had to read. I read it like that, and it was so good. I was hooked, and it was the 7 laws, and one of them was about.
I gotta read that book still. I have to read it.
And it's about like that presence. One of them was about that presence, like go outside or anything, just 30 minutes to yourself. Like don't focus on anything.
Yeah.
Like if you can just sit outside in the sun for 30 minutes without doing anything, go for a walk or something.
Dude, I think these and I'm sure they're already taking off, but like the industries of like meditation and like the therapy and like spirit-based stuff are gonna take off. Just because with so much mind being stimulated, people have forgotten to like center into what's real.
And it's becoming more. There's more awareness on it now. Like, oh yeah, you should do this.
Well,
like,
because people are finally trying things because they're realizing what they were doing isn't working.
Yeah, like what they're going through.
You know,
like
whether that be like you waking up and the first thing you do is checking social media, and you might see something you don't like. Now your whole day goes by with that as like the first thing that started your day.
I hate that feeling.
You know.
Yeah.
So you gotta like. Different things work for different people. I think Gary Vee said this. He's like, everything works, but not everything may work for you. Right. You know? And that's like, people say, yo, 7 days to like 6-pack abs. Like that might work, but it might also not work for you. Right. It might be for somebody else. It might work for someone else. So everything works. You just got to find what works for you. What feels good to you, what feels natural to you. Like in the pandemic, you had that running, meditative music, reading. Like that was your thing.
Dude, I would come back downstairs to my family so relaxed, so clear-headed. And
isn't that better as like a son, as a brother, as a, in the future when you a spouse, as a father?
Yeah.
To approach situations clear-headed. Than to show up and you bringing something else with you into that moment, and that affects the moment.
Lashes out and lash out.
Yeah. God forbid, as a person, you don't follow your dreams. This is to everybody out there. You don't follow your dreams, and your kid's like, I want to be a astronaut. And you're like, silly, you can't be an astronaut.
There's no shot. No
shot. You start throwing percentages.
Yeah.
As if like the Wright brothers looked at percentages of flying a plane. Like what were the odds of like an airplane flying?
Yeah, literally. Literally though.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
What's like this goes into the whole what's realistic, what's unrealistic. Like what's realistic is things that have a proven track record, and unrealistic is just things that just haven't been done yet.
Yeah.
Like in the past, there was a guy who ran the 4-minute mile for the first time. Before everybody had tried, you had 4:1, you had 4:2, you had like over 4 minutes. Nobody had kind of broken that 4-minute mark, right?
Interesting.
And then this guy did it, and within the next year, 12 other people did it. Because they finally had a resource to like, hey, he can do it.
So
it's now realistic.
That's so crazy. The power of the mind.
Power of the mind. What's realistic, what's unrealistic is just, So again, going back to like you showing up to a situation clear-headed, so you don't lash out on your future generation, or you don't lash out on your parents, or you don't lash out on.
It all connects, man.
It all connects, man. It all connects. And God forbid you say something or you do something that leaves a lasting impression on that person. It hurts the relationship. Like, let's say a relationship is like this, and now you've kind of like, put like a wrench in it almost.
It's so true,
just
man.
because of you were going through something else you saw. Maybe it was something on social media, and you just carried it with you into a situation. And so it's very important,
It's happened to me, and I would
notice. Happened to everybody.
Yeah,
it's happened to everybody. You've shown up in a situation where you're already thinking about something else. You're bogged down by it probably. It's never in the good way. Yeah. Because like a good way always elevates the situation. If you're in a happy mood and somebody's in a bad mood, you make that person feel good.
Right. Yeah. And that's exactly how it felt. Like I would catch myself sometimes. Like I knew on my good days, like when I felt clear-headed and because I did the habits that made me feel that way, nothing would bother me. Right. I'll be like, if somebody says something or like, so I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
cool.
Yeah. But if I don't do my habits and I feel kind of crappy about it, and then when I'm clear-headed, I'll be like, whatever. But then you carry those things with you, and then you just somebody says something to you, and all that weight that you already have on you, you lash it onto somebody else. When in reality you didn't need to.
Dude, it's like I can speak from prior experience. Like when you're clear-headed and you go into a situation, somebody has a moment where they're upset or they're, you know, whatever, like it's a negative moment, you automatically go to like, maybe they're going through something. Maybe, you know, maybe they're, you know, something went bad. They're dealing with it. I'm not going to take it personally. Versus you're in a bad mood already. You show up to a situation, somebody's lashing out at you. All of a sudden you may say something back. You may associate something negatively, like drastically raised. So like when it's so important, especially today when you're constantly, and a lot of people aren't taking the time to do meditation or focus, recenter themselves into what's really true. They're constantly surrounded by either the fear of the media or like, you know, their fear of not being enough or, you know, whatever the situation is, take a toll on who they are. Like that's an issue.
And to kind of like clarify with meditation, and I'm just learning this, it could be so many different things, you know, like, so those are another podcast.
It's not always just sitting,
like
thinking of nothing. It's very
sitting outside on your own and just like, just being present, you know, or like me, right? Like I did this a lot more during quarantine. There's these little habits that I kind of miss. When I would go running, sometimes after that run, I'll just get in the pool and I'll sit there in the pool with my head on the little concrete for 30 minutes because that was my way of just like doing nothing for 30 minutes. Then I'll go shower, then read. Oh, dude, great. So some people, they like coloring books. Just something that you can take your mind out of the outside world and apply it towards something like painting 100%. Is a good one. Drawing or coloring.
It's different for everybody else. That's why I said like
something that you can apply your focus to. But not everything
works for you.
Yeah.
So you got to find what works for you. Just for you, it was running. For somebody else, it could be painting. Like, hey, I'm going to take these 30 minutes. I'm going to draw. I have, get like, if you're an artist and you've been bogged down by life and you've just let that art go.
Yeah.
Like, go back to it. Like, try it. Imagine how great that's going to feel. And make it a habit.
Because you're applying all your focus towards this one thing. And that's essentially what like meditation is. You're focusing yourself on one thing and not on the weight of just your mind.
Of everything.
And
it's very important that you use your mind. You don't let your mind use you.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. Because your mind's going to constantly throw things at you that are going to make you want to feel bad and going to make you want to feel good. Like, you have to be the one controlling, okay, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use this to my advantage. I'm going to change this to my advantage also. Like, I'm not going to let this change my...
Just not be reactionary about everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, man, like, life is too short to make those mistakes, and you'll always look back on it and be like, I could have handled this better. I could have done this had I had a more clearer head. So be proactive with it.
Yeah.
And, open yourself up to that. And
it's the habits create everything, man. Like, and for me, I notice it all the time. Like when I get the workout in the morning and I get home, I journal and this, making the bed, simple little thing. And the day is just goes so differently.
Yeah.
You feel more like relaxed, you feel more confident,
100%.
At peace with the day, and you tackle the day so differently as opposed to like waking up kind of sluggish and you didn't really get this done, but then you're rushing, and then when you're rushing, you snap at somebody because, I got to get this done because it's so, when you really break it down, it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's just hard to...
It's harder to actually do it.
Execute on a consistent basis.
And it's the thing we've talked about in almost every single episode. It's like a muscle.
Yeah.
You don't go work out once and you're fit for life. You got to,
that would be nice.
That'd be nice. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And the gym memberships would be a lot less.
Yeah, right?
But
it's so crazy.
It's not you go and you got to constantly exercise that muscle. So you got to constantly put yourself in those positions that are going to challenge you to do that.
Mm-hmm. They say how many days is it for
21, I think. For 27 for a habit.
Yeah, to create a habit, right?
21 days.
21 days.
Or 27 days. Something like that.
Yeah, I got to try that.
Yeah.
I need to really do that.
And I think you're speaking for everyone right now. Like, everyone has something that they know they should be doing that they're not doing.
And they know when they do it, they feel better.
100%.
That's
100%.
the annoying part. That's what frustrates you even more.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I would feel, like
you do.
It's just the brain convincing you otherwise in the moment.
In the moment.
Because then you always regret it after.
Yep.
in the morning,
100%.
your brain is like, nah, just sleep in, go to the gym later or tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
during the day, you wake up at like 11 or 12 and you're like,
you got to go to work and then, it's done. Oh, shit, why did I do that? If I force myself to get up, even going to the gym, I'm driving, I'm half asleep. Yeah. But when I mid-workout and post-workout, I'm like, I'm glad I did that. Yeah. And you feel great.
It's like that Kobe thing, bro. You can't let your mind negotiate with you. It's got to be non-negotiable.
You may sign the contract.
Like you sign the contract, that's it. That's it. Showing up at the gym 6 a.m.
That's
7 a.m.
That's so awesome. Like that's the best way to look at it. Like sign the contract with yourself. Like that's it. You said you're gonna do this. You got to do it now.
No negotiations. You wake up in the morning. I tell my mind what to do. My mind does not tell me what to do.
And dude, that happens to me so much. Like it
happens to everybody so much, bro.
My mind negotiating with me. Like
you don't have to go today. You can go tomorrow.
Just sleep in. Just sleep in. Oh, but like okay, it's like if I sleep in now,
you gotta take a rest day, bro.
Or like you can go later. You can go later. It's crazy, man.
Because then what happens is the day takes over.
Then you have to set that routine. Yeah, you have to rush everything else, and it's so true, man.
It's rather to be proactive than reactive. I think what's the saying? It's like leaders anticipate, losers react. It's
true.
It's like when you're playing a video game and like, you know what's coming next. Like this person's gonna pop out here. Versus as you just going in, that person
making the same mistake over and over.
The same mistake again.
You're reacting.
You're reacting to like what's happening
instead of like anticipating. Yeah, that's so true.
It's like pro gamers, right? Why are they so good? Because they anticipate like, okay, in COD, like if I go left, this guy's likely coming this way, or he's gonna go through the house.
Yeah, you're already checking a corner.
You're doing so many. You're trying to anticipate what's gonna happen versus you just being like here, and the guy comes from behind, like.
Then you react to that.
You react to that. It's over by that time.
It's so true. That's it's man. I mean,
anticipate, don't react. That's what.
We tackled a lot today.
And stay youthful.
Honestly,
and
man.
Believe in your dreams as always, and keep on keeping on.
Take that, take that rest day if you need it. Yeah. Like,
and that's a part of no days off, is knowing, hey, my body needs a rest today.
Like, yeah, just earn it. That's the best when it's earned. It's the best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling. Like,
or else you'll feel lazy, and that's worse.
Yeah, like
that's worse.
When you can get a lot done, and then just tell yourself, you know what, I earned it. Yeah. Whether
that's a lot better than being like, I shouldn't have taken the rest day today.
Yeah, exactly. Oh shit! Like, no, I need to catch up on everything. That goes for anything, like with dieting or anything. Dude. Like, earn that meal, that cheat meal. Yeah. If you want that Taco Bell, just earn it.
Yeah. Facts. I love Taco Bell now.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I had it the other night.
Oh, it hits every time.
Every time, man.
And then it hits again.
you always. There's never enough Taco Bell.
No. It's a great point to end on.
Yeah, I think so. Man. Great podcast. It was nice.
I think so. Great comeback episode. We're not sure yet if this is the season ender. So you might get another one.
We're gonna pull Tom Brady.
We might pull and come back with an 8th episode. But we're excited for what the future holds, because we're gonna be doing a lot of cool stuff, and we're really excited to bring you guys fresh content.
Yeah, man. It
actually feels good to get back here, because like I feel like I haven't put my creative hat on in a little bit, and so like to be back here and just talk and put this out. It feels good. So
it's great to be back. Yeah, it's great to be back.
You gotta build that momentum.
Yeah, man.
We'll do this, and then we'll be like, all right, let's do the 8th episode next week or something. Or we'll start making moves on.
Start getting ready for So I'm very excited for season 2.
Me too.
I think that's gonna be great.
Especially the goals and dreams we have for that season.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I can't wait for all of you to watch and listen to it. And yeah, I mean,
we're going to take a little break so we can put some content together, and so we can, when we launch, it's like
it's ready to go.
It's ready to go.
Yeah.
And we're not missing days because of scheduling or anything
like
that.
And we could we can I guess on our Instagram story and stuff like that. Just
we'll be there.
And it'll be fun.
Uploading more content, and even from what we have, because like we're unpacking a lot in all of these episodes, and there's so many clips still to be made. Yeah, that we haven't revisited. So we'll definitely keep it up to date.
It's been great, and I love doing this, man.
Yeah, me too.
It's so much fun. I love it.
And especially because it's like, it's just an additional thing, right? Like you're doing all the things you're doing, and then it's like, okay, I'm also doing this. It's like me, I'm doing all the things I'm doing, but then it's like we're also doing.
And I love it
because it's not like it doesn't detract from anything else.
Yeah, no, it adds to it, if anything. Because now I come here and we talk about this stuff. This is almost like
therapy also. We're just venting thoughts and things we learn.
Catching up. And also it helps looking at the things we've been doing and like 100%. Adding more value to it. It's like, oh yeah, like, you know what? Yeah. I didn't see this that way. Like that applies to, and it's cool. It adds to everything else that we have going on, which is why I love doing this, man. And I'm excited for season 2, what we're going to be doing with that. It's just going to add more, and I'm excited. This is great. This is great.
Till next time.
All right, guys. Thank you. And feel free to like and subscribe.
100%
if you enjoyed
like and subscribe.
This, it always helps us.
Follow on the gram at the KOKO Podcast.
And email us.
Yeah.
The KOKO Podcast.
We will attempt to do a Q&A at some point.
Maybe a live.
That could be the next. Yeah, maybe a live.
Maybe to close it off.
Yeah.
Maybe to close it off. Just do it live.
Why not?
You know?
Why not?
I think that might be the one. That would be fun. Be cool. Just open up in live and let people just wherever it goes, and then get ready for the next season.
All right.
Oh, you know what? I think we
came up with the 8th episode.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. To the next one.
Time, guys. Peace and love.